Now, I did watch Red Zone on the Sunday. I didn't watch the full games, but I have watched the highlights as well. And I know Lamar Jackson got injured within the game and Cooper Rush had to come in. And as soon as that happens, you go, the team is going to lose. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, have not been dominant this year by no stretch of the imagination. And in many opinions, including my own, have looked quite poor and not the same Chiefs. And we've also been very critical of them on here. We did a section the other week of, is the dynasty over? But as soon as Lamar goes up, it's going to be an uphill battle. Like, it just always is going to be, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. But this wasn't like Lamar's got injured and they've lost. No. This was much worse than
that. You say much worse.
It was.
I just think it's all things we've said before about the Ravens. I mean, we said it last year and the year before. They're great everywhere. Amazing everywhere. Now they have got injuries. They've got major injuries. I know that. They've got significant injuries all over the place. Noni Madueke, I mean, he can't even start left wing for them at the minute. For anyone who doesn't get that joke, you should probably watch the start of this show. And if this is the section you're watching, make sure you catch the whole show. But Madueke being out and some other players. But we've said that the back end of the defense has not been good. And they draft them and they develop them and they've got some good names on paper. But they're currently the worst defense in football. They're currently the worst. They're 31st in passing yards, 1,062. Joint 30th in passing touchdowns, 9. 30th in first downs. And then they're not getting pressure either. They're joint 31st in sacks with 4. Like, they went out and who was the kid they got out of Georgia this year? The Wonders safety, Starks.
Malachi Starks. Yeah.
Malachi Starks got him this year.
Yeah.
Not done much so far. Carl Hamilton's a beast when he wants to. Occasionally, it feels like Marlon Humphrey. I feel like we talk about him like a top corner. He's not a top corner anymore. He's not. He just can't be. Like they invest draft capital in this back end, and it's to beat. That's what's even funnier. It's to beat the Chiefs because Lamar is 1-6 against the Chiefs, including the playoffs. He can't beat the Chiefs. And it's just not developing.
No, you're right. I'm going to throw out a shameless plug because that's what I do. I wrote an article yesterday for free bets. They actually sponsor our betting, Jay. Go and check them out. But I'll tell you what it was because I do a weekly news one after the NFL games on the weekend. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I kind of went with the Ravens because I kind of felt like that was a big game, wasn't it? Between the two of them, whoever lost goes 1-3. That's really, really tough on whoever loses that game. So I sort of looked into it and I kind of went with things are only going to get worse for the Ravens. And they are. They are only going to get worse for them because this isn't just about Lamar Jackson picking up an injury, and I think it was today that they came out and said that he's going to miss Sunday, isn't he?
I think 2 to 3 weeks. They're saying 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks is what they're saying.
Concrete has come out yet. They've not even really set it up properly yet, I don't think.
But they've got 2 more games and then they've got their bye, and they reckon it could be 2 to 3 weeks. So it kind of feels like he's going to miss the next 2 games.
Them games being the Texans, they are hosting the Texans and the Rams.
Yeah. And okay, I would say that the Texans are not. I know they won and they scored quite a few points against the Titans, but they played the Titans, so but they are 2 very good defenses that they're going to be going up against, and Cooper Rush is not going to do much for you, I don't think. So there's a limit to what you can get. So you're going to need your defense to be very, very strong. And this defense, as you were saying, just isn't strong at all. It's the worst in the league. It's given up the most points so far in the league over the 4 games. Marlon Humphrey's gone out injured and is going to miss a couple of weeks. Nate Wiggins left the game against the Chiefs injured. as you said, Noni Madueke's out for quite some time. I think he's out for the season, isn't he?
I actually don't even know his first name. What's his? It's Madueke, right? But it's not Noni.
No, it's not Noni. It's Namadi Madubuweke. Yeah. We probably should actually use his proper name, bless him. And Roquan Smith.
Mads.
Yeah. Roquan Smith, of course, has gone out, and he's going to be missing for a couple of weeks. So this is significant problems over the next couple of weeks. Going up against two decent defenses, your defense has been obliterated with injuries, and your star quarterback is probably going to miss them 2 games as well, by the sound of it, with this hamstring injury. Derrick Henry can't run. The other thing with Lamar,
I don't remember seeing him on the red zone.
No,
I just looked
right.
to see how many yards he got. He got 42 yards on 8 carries.
So
where was
Lamar is the second most sacked quarterback behind Cam Ward.
That's his game, though. You can't have it. You can't pull that.
It is his game, but the fact that is happening, and the run game has kind of fallen apart in Derrick Henry. It does kind of feel a little bit like the O-line is not doing particularly well as well. And so there's a lot of problems here, is essentially what we're getting to. And it's hard to see where they're going to be able to do anything, because with all these guys out, there's a very good chance they're going to be 1-5 as they go into the bye. You know, there is a good chance that could happen.
Yeah.
The Texans are not great. Like, offensively, they're not great.
They could beat the Texans. I think they could beat the Texans.
Yeah, but this defense can't stop anything.
Yeah, but Stroud's not playing well.
No, I agree. Stroud isn't playing well. The one thing I would say, their run game is doing well. Nick Chubb and Woody Marks are doing well for the Texans. And yes, Stroud isn't playing well. But the other thing you've got to remember, their defense is very good. I don't think it's going to take a lot. So I think that this is a game that the Texans could quite easily win this game. And then you're going against the Rams, who I know they fell apart against the Eagles, but you would think a fit Rams team would be able to take apart this Ravens defense and do well against them.
The only thing, because I feel like you're going down the path of this could be them being out of the playoffs very quickly, is where I feel like you're going with this. Is that?
Well, it's not so much that it's not a case that I feel that they would be out the playoffs quickly, but I do feel that there's a strong chance that they could end up being 1-5 going into their bye week. And I do feel that if you can get these guys back, especially Lamar, if you think about it, you go through that 3-week period and then you come back the other side and he's fully fit, then all of a sudden it changes. And these games are much more likely for them to win because you got your star quarterback back. So that makes sense.
And the caliber of team they're playing, they've
had a real tough schedule.
They're hosting the Bears, they're at the Dolphins, they're at the Vikings, they're at the Browns, they're hosting the Jets, they're hosting the Bengals. I mean, they got back fully fit after the bye week. This is such a bold thing to say, but I'm going to say it. They got fully fit and were fully throttle Ravens and found it and got their shit together. They could go unbeaten the rest of the year after the bye.
Yes. Yeah. And that's kind of where I sort of look at it, and they'll probably slip up at some point during that period. Yeah. They probably won't go unbeaten for that long. They probably will slip up. But the point is that I was sort of like going along with is that they have a very good chance of being 1-5 going into the bye. And that this is a massive opportunity, which I said when we were talking about the doubling game, for the Steelers here. Because, as you say, they're now, it's 3-1 for the Steelers. And
yeah, we're 3-1. then 2-2
They're
for the Bengals, and then
who
1
can't
and
do anything
3.
on offense.
Yeah, who then 1 and 3
Now,
for the Ravens and Browns.
yeah, and this is my point. So they've got a 2-game swing already. It feels like this is their chance. That if the Steelers if they're just steady and they just do the sort of thing that they did against the Vikings, and just sort of like go through games, I think the sort of the bold take that isn't really a bold take anymore when you actually look at this is that the Steelers will probably be hosting a playoff game.
Maybe against the Ravens. with seeding and stuff like that. With seeding and stuff like that, it'd be like that, wouldn't it? Really,
potentially, yeah.
I've not seen it in the media yet, but I think it's going to definitely be Lamar. I know he went out injured, but like you said, I don't think the injury was the fact that they lost. Choking in a big game again, not doing well in the big game, not winning the big one, losing to the Chiefs again. Like,
yeah,
that's got to do something to you, hasn't it? Like, that has to. I know he's been in the league a while now, and I'm like such a huge fan. I've gone on about it so many times about being the biggest fan and how much he progresses and how he's proved everybody wrong with what people just labeled him in the first place. But the proof's in the pudding now. He's never done well in the playoffs. What, he's got 1 playoff win now?
Yeah.
Or is it 2? 1.
1, I think.
1 playoff win, and he didn't get that for ages. Fails to beat big teams quite consistently. Has arguably had a defense that has helped. Has had players around him. I don't care what anyone says. As much as he doesn't feel like a number one, Zay Flowers has proven he's a darn good wide receiver. You've got one of the best tight ends in the league in Mark Andrews. You've got probably the top 3 running back in Derrick Henry. You've got a pretty decent O-line. Like, what more does Lamar need to do to sort of push it over the line? Because I just think is it the thing where he just goes back to running? Like, it just sort of like everything. But then he's been controlled with his throws. So is it just a mentality thing? I don't know.
I think so far, I know what you mean from when it comes to a big game. I think so far this season, it's difficult to blame Lamar for anything, really, considering what's happened. It's been a brutal first 4 games. It really has been, apart from the Browns, who you can come out and say have got a decent defense. That you've played the Lions, you've played the Chiefs, and you played the Bills. I mean, that's a really tough first 4 weeks against some really good teams. And I know that they've lost them all, but I mean, he put 40 points up away at the Bills. You can't blame Lamar for something like that. And that was a big game. That was wasn't that a Sunday night football game? I think, like a standalone game in week 1. So that was a
late night game on Sunday.
Yeah, so everyone's watching and all that sort of thing, and so it's
but then it was a Monday night game against Detroit. Everyone was watching that as well.
Yeah, but he put up 30 points again. This is what I mean, and this is when Derrick Henry had 2 fumbles in that game, and it's like I think it's difficult to put it on Lamar. I understand what you're saying, and I think a lot of people do come out and say that. And when it comes to playoff football, I think there's definitely a point there, isn't there? Because there's been a history where every time they get to this point where they go up against the Chiefs or the Bills, it does become a bit of a struggle, and it is a problem. I just think this defense is so bad that this is what's causing the problem at the moment. The defense is just so bad.
It's just so not what you think about when you think of the Ravens' culture and history.
No, absolutely.
Like,
absolutely. It's built onto such a strong defense.
I've seen it in the media recently where everyone's going like, Roy Keane should be getting into that Man U dressing room and tearing everyone a new one and telling them what it means to play for the Man United. You almost like, can you get Ray Lewis and Ed Reed to come into this locker room and grab everyone and be like, you play for the effing Ravens. You're meant to be the most feared defense. We didn't work our butts off, commit our bodies on the line for us to now be a laughing stock of a defense.
What's weird though is that this did happen last year.
Yep.
This is, the beginning of the season last year. Their defense was really bad, and this is Zach Orr as the defensive coordinator 2 years in a row now, and it's happened both years where there's been a sort of like just inability to do anything in the first few weeks. And actually last year it kind of almost went all the way up to like week 9, 10, something like that. It was the middle of the season when they finally kicked into gear. So yeah, it's really difficult. But I do think that I can see them being 1-5 and going into this bye week. And like you say, after the bye week, the schedule is not bad. It feels like they've got a decent schedule. They could probably win the majority of
You
them
say not
games.
bad. I've just said that they could go unbeaten. They've actually got
Yeah.
incredibly easy.
Well, yeah, but I
incredibly
mean,
easy schedule, I think,
realistically, they're
personally.
probably not. They're not going to. But
No,
I get your
if
point,
they could.
yeah. So it's like I think they've got that ability to do that as long as Lamar's fit and they can sort of try and get this defense being capable of doing something. But yeah, it's difficult for them. And like I say, at the moment, I'm not 100% sure if they're going to be able to. I know you say they could go unbeaten, but I'm not 100% sure whether they're going to be able to sort of like turn it round so much that they suddenly become a force, because it's not just one area. That's the problem. It feels like every area there's a problem.